right, welcome to Rick's Corner. I have a very good friend of mine, a pro wrestler of how many years?
35.
35 years, a little bit younger than me, maybe. My friend Billy Anderson. And Billy has wrestled, God, my God, everybody in the world. And he has pictures with everybody in the world. And he's still involved with the Cauliflower Alley Club and does a lot for them, does a lot for wrestling, has done a lot for wrestling over the years, promotes it a lot and promotes himself, and just been a super friend. What, when I first met you, it was probably in the 70s, right?
Actually, 82.
You actually know the date.
I bet. Pretty much.
You and Jack Armstrong know all these dates. My God.
I know.
I forget dates. I asked my son. He tells me exactly what time of the day it was and what date it was. Everything to me is like 8 or 9 years ago. At the Olympic Auditorium?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And, you know, Rick, when I met you, it was no different than when I met Jack Armstrong. I felt like I'd known you all my life. You're such a down-to-earth guy.
Oh, thanks.
Good people, and I felt like, just like all the guys that I hung around with in those days, the wrestlers,
yeah.
I felt like I'd known them my entire life, and that's why I'm still friends 30 years later almost.
Well, that's the thing about wrestling. It's a brotherhood, and I've explained that to people outside the business who don't really understand it. It's like a fraternity. When you're in the business, you can go anywhere in the world and meet a wrestler from another place, and you feel like you've known him forever.
That's very true.
Because you have that common bond. You don't even have to say anything. It's just the contact.
Well, just like when we wrestled,
yeah.
We would wrestle guys that didn't even speak our language, and we still had a good wrestling match. It was universal.
That's right.
You didn't have to learn. You didn't need to speak a word of English or a word of anything.
Yeah, we had a period there where they brought a lot of Mexican wrestlers up from Mexico that we worked with, and there was no communication because I didn't speak Spanish, they didn't speak English, and we kind of just went as we felt. And it always worked.
That's right.
It just always worked. And the camaraderie back then is different than today, just as in bodybuilding. We were a group of guys that worked the shows together, we hung together, we'd eat together, we just our lives were together. Every time we'd go out at night to work, we'd work 5 or 6 nights a week. It was like a family, almost like firemen who lived together.
Exactly.
And I think over the years, I mean, it's changed. The kayfabe isn't there anymore, unfortunately. And there's different egos involved, and kids now, everybody calls themselves a professional wrestler. Whether they train once or 2 weeks or a year, they're professionals, even though they haven't been paid.
That's very true.
You run into that?
Yes, I do. It's one of the reasons I kind of stopped training people in 2001. I kind of backed down from it. I got tired of the attitudes of a lot of kids coming in that just felt like they knew more at 17 years of age than I knew at 45 years of age at the time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what, you have never been in the ring before, yet you think you've been around the world and done it all. And I have been around the world and done it all, and I still don't know it all. So don't tell me you know more than me.
No, you never stop learning, but there's a certain amount of disrespect. And I get a lot of emails daily. I've just got 2 today. I want to be a professional wrestler. I'm 17 years old. I'm in school. I don't know what I want to do with my life. Am I too old to start? Well, no, not at 17, but you better have a backup.
That's right. Always get at your backup. Go to school. I encourage everyone. I encouraged it when I had my school. Get an education, because wrestling, unless you're a Hulk Hogan, you're not going to be doing this when you're 60.
No.
You're going to need a backup. You need to get your education. You need to have a good trade. That's mandatory.
Well, because when we were wrestling back then at the Olympic, and we had a territory, which we don't have today, we could be booked 6 nights a week.
Right.
And it could have been, what, $30 a night, 25,
Yeah.
35, 50, whatever it was. Worked because the cost of living wasn't high.
That's true.
So, like Jack and myself, we would do commercials and films, and we'd collect our unemployment, then we'd wrestle at night for cash, and that kept the ball rolling.
Right.
And we were able to go anywhere, to Oregon, any territory, and work 6, 7 nights a week and make decent money to live on. In fact, I was able to keep my beach apartment at the same time. Today, it doesn't happen like that. And as you know, because you trained a lot of people,
gosh, yes.
And you've run a lot of shows, it's hard to make money running shows.
Well, it's tough. Yeah, it's a very tough business now. I've told a lot of people I would never get into wrestling today.
No.
I was very happy. I broke in 73, 74. I loved it. I loved the traveling. I love the camaraderie, like you said. It's a different animal now. It's a different mentality. It's not just wrestling, it's society. It's like you said, it's the same in bodybuilding. It's the same with everything. It's not the same gym mentality of camaraderie in the gym. It's a lot of selfishness and a lot of attitude and things. And it's not the old way it used to be, and,
no.
And we sure miss that.
I miss it tremendously, and the people that do watch it on TV, they come here. I work with a lot of kids, and I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I encourage them, even though they can't do a lot of things, because it's their passion, it's their dream, and this is like a playground for them, which is good, and they'll learn something, but they got to listen. A lot of them want to jump off the top rope right away. They want to do all these finishing moves. Whereas you need to know how to wrestle.
That's right.
And so I'm big on hold-to-hold and takedowns and submissions, maybe from Gene LaBelle. But I think it's important to know.
The most dangerous man alive.
Yeah, what a guy. But it's important to know these things to become a wrestler. But the thing is that you're not going to make it today in WWE. They're so particular about who they take.
Exactly, and yeah, it's a whole different ball game today.
Yeah, and you see what they're taking. These guys look like they came out of Gold's Gym. You got to be in shape.
Right, you got to be in shape. You got to work out. I was in shape in my older days.
You were.
I have gotten out of shape in the last 10 years of my life, but I plan on getting back in shape, not for wrestling, but for life.
For your health.
For life. And the next time I do a Rick's Corner, I'll be 100 pounds lighter.
Woo! Maybe I'll take the 100 pounds and put it on.
There you go. Maybe you'll make a comeback.
The thing is that the kids today, they don't look in the mirror. They see them on TV, and they see what they do, and they see how they look, and they say, I get so many emails, I'm going to be the next WWE superstar. I want to be that. I know I can. I say, look in the mirror at yourself. Do you really have what it takes? Are people going to spend money to watch you in the ring? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to get in shape? Are you going to eat right? Because most of them don't even have a clue.
That's right.
One guy writes me, he's a young kid, he's 13, he says, I have abs and biceps. I said, great, what are you going to do with them? I'm going to be a wrestler. I said, can you do a forward roll or somersault? He says, no. I said, then forget it.
Oh my gosh. Rick, I'm sure you encountered this in your training of your school. I had a guy came to my school in 1995. He was about 5'7", 185 pounds. Comes to school. I'm not going to name his name because he is still an active wrestler here in Southern California. But he said, I've already got my ring name. My first workout.
Oh, that's
of course they have their ring name
and the wardrobe.
And I says, what's your ring name? He says, well, in high school they called me the Power Lord. I says, what did you go to, a high school with midgets? Are you kidding me? You're 5'7", 165, 175 pounds. You're the Power Lord? That's reserved for a big man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're not the Power Lord. He had red hair. Well, I better not say too much or I'll give his name away. I said, from now on, your name is Red. Sight unseen. Your name is Red from the day, and he is to this day. When I just saw him a couple of months ago, Red.
I know who it is.
And I'll never call him anything else. You're not the Power Lord. I'm sorry. You're not big enough to be the Power Lord.
And Red's not even his name.
No.
Yeah. That's funny because I had a kid today tell me, he says, I have a friend who wants to start wrestling. He smokes a lot of pot, and he says, if WWE will take him, they'll call him the pothead. I said, it doesn't work like that. You know, that's just not how it works. But that's the mentality, and it's unfortunate that it's that way in the business. And I get people who text me, some kids yesterday text me about WWE and who's going to win this and who's going to win that. I'm not a mark, and I don't play that game.
That's right.
And I don't care who wins what. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And when you're inside, you know that, and on the outside, they can do whatever they want to do. But you've trained a lot of guys, and you had a school for a long, long time.
Right. From 1984 to about 2001, I trained guys, and I was very fortunate to have a school with Red Bastien at the time in 1985 for a while, and we trained Sting, the Ultimate Warrior, the Angel of Death, Steve DeSalvo. There were 4 prominent guys that came out of a 6-man class, and but before that, I trained some guys, Doug Anderson, Mark Starr, and some different people around Southern California. But I really got taken off. The school took off after the Sting and Warrior, of course, because their success was phenomenal. They were both world champions. Sting, more so than Warrior, became a bigger legend, still actively wrestling to this day. And Warrior kind of disappeared a little bit off the circuit, but he made millions in his day. And
well, he's living on another planet now.
Yeah, he is. He's mentally challenged in his own way.
Yeah.
It's good to have self-confidence, but he had a little too much self-confidence.
There's something wrong with it. Something snapped.
But I was very fortunate to train a lot of great guys. Louis Spicoli, who I believe you knew, Rick, and Louis was a very respectful young man. He passed away, unfortunately, at 27 years of age. Got caught up in the lifestyle, the negative part of the lifestyle of being a wrestler, with some painkillers and things like that we all get injuries, and different people handle it differently. And some have an addictive personality and some don't. And Lewis, unfortunately, got kind of hung up on the trying to relieve himself of some of the discomfort in his body. And
happens a lot.
Yeah.
Angel of Death, what was his real name?
Dave Sheldon.
He passed away too.
Yes, he did. I think he was only like 48 or 45 or something. A big shame. And Dave was such a nice guy. 6'7" guy. Very good in the ring. Had a good body for the business.
Yeah.
And but he's another one that kind of got caught up.
Yeah.
And very, very unfortunate. And
well, a lot of them are gone. And,
yes.
And a lot of it's drugs, and it's really too bad because that's not what makes the man anyway. You know, you've got to eat right, stay in shape, be healthy, have a healthy mind, treat people with respect, and go for the gold. But even running shows, I mean, I've had many people say to me, "Why don't you run some shows so we can wrestle?" It takes money to run shows. Right. And you don't want to run at a loss.
That's right.
And today, the wrestlers who do the indie shows rarely get paid. In fact, some of them are paying the promoters to be on the show.
That's very true.
It's like pay to play for rock bands, and it's a different world today. I mean, it's just really hard to get people into the seats unless you have
That's right.
the WWE superstars there.
Yeah, back in the old days, I know I'd never wrestled for free, and I did have a person that we talked about earlier promote a show out in Montclair one time, and I worked 2 shows, an afternoon and an evening show. And when the 2 shows were done, he handed me a $10 bill, and I said, "So-and-so, you're a good friend for life, but don't ever call me again if you're going to pay me $10 for 2 shows. I don't do that. I'm a professional. I do this for a living.
Right.
$10 didn't even buy my lunch today. So, sorry."
And don't forget, back then we had to have a license.
That's right. It was a California Athletic Commission
license, and a professional wrestler is like a boxer, and that actually puts a limit on you in street fights because you're considered a lethal weapon.
That's right.
And today, a lot of the wrestlers do these indie shows, never heard of a license, haven't got a clue, and probably couldn't pass the physical.
That's right. That's right. It's so different now. It's
yeah. So what would be your advice to guys wanting to start out right now?
Well, find a good trainer that has a background, a man like Rick Drasin that has credentials for 40 years plus and can back up everything he says in the ring and out of the ring, and have respect and dedication to your trainer, and listen to every bit of advice your trainer can give you. But don't go to a trainer that can't back up his own credentials. He can talk about his career, but if he can't back it up with video or movies or something that he's done, photos, books, whatever, then you better be a little skeptical of who's training you, because it might just be another mark.
Probably is. And the other thing I want to add to that is wrestling is like acting. People come out here from all over the Midwest and want to be actors, and they try to get an agent, and they get a walk-on on a movie, and they think, okay, I'm a superstar now, and then they have to realize that they got to go to work and make a living, because wrestling today will not make you money unless you are a development contract with WWE, and even then that's hard to get, and then they cut you loose. So stand still, get a career, get some type of a job that you know that you enjoy, and a job shouldn't be a job, it should be your passion. And wrestling can be your passion, but you got to have another thing too that brings in the income. And then wrestle on the side, and if it takes you somewhere, do what you want to do. But you have to have something else to fall back on.
Right. You know, I had a friend where I work right now in Phoenix, Arizona at my job. The other day he said, "Bill, did you ever consider wrestling a job?" And I said, "You know what? I had never really thought about it until he asked me that." I said, "No, I never considered it a job.
No.
I never felt like I worked a day in my life until I had to get a 9-to-5 job. I didn't consider wrestling a job. Even though I drive 500 miles sometimes to make $25, that wasn't a job."